What I'm about to show you has only been known to a handful of people. Even less have ever seen this. This is Project Rainfall.
Sydney's lost, we're surrounded, and we're suffering unsustainable casualties.
There's something else. Over the past few weeks, I've encountered sources that all speak of some event. Rainfall.
Find out what this rainfall thing is. Fall back to me.
I will go too.
I've seen you fight. You're keeping something from me.
I am a soldier, Matthew. Just like you.
What are they doing?
Preparing for war, eh? It's their technology integrated with ours. It's a beautiful thing.
I've hidden from this war long enough. I'm going to make sure you complete your mission.
You are surrounded. You cannot win.
Oh, that's not good.
Here we go!
Write a story as a species.
I'm with you.
It's not all the times that we fall, but that we rise again. Every single time.
Incoming guidance.
What else you got?
Call him as you see him.
Well, hello there, welcome. This is such an exciting 1 hour long panel discussion and Q&A that I'm having with the cast and crew, well, some select members of them, of the movie Occupation Rainfall, which is actually coming to Australia and hitting cinemas, over 200 of them around the country on the 28th of January. What's up? Maud Garrett here from Geek Bomb. I am so excited to announce some of the cast here. We'll kick it off. The director and writer of the movie, we got Luke Sparke. We also have playing Dennis, reprising his role from the first movie as well, and producer Zac Garred, close to Garrett, but Garred. And also stepping up, we've got Jet Tranter as well, playing Amelia. So this is so amazing. We just saw the trailer there. And I love reading sort of like the blurb of this film, which is a wild and war-torn dystopian vision of the land down under comes to life in the most ambitious sci-fi film ever produced in Australia. Now, the word that stands out to me, Luke, is ambitious. Is that what you were going for here? Because Australia is not necessarily known for epic sci-fi, but that's exactly what you've done with this movie.
Well, thank you. And yeah, of course, yeah, it's exactly what I set out to do, is to, if you're going to do it, you may as well do it big, you may as well do it something that hasn't been done before. That's how I always act when I'm writing and producing and coming up with these ideas. So yeah, it's exactly what I tried to set out to do, and hopefully I've accomplished that.
Well, there's over like 1,500 special effects throughout the movie as well. I was trying to figure out, you know how like, you know, to talk about or to sell a movie, you say it's A meets B. But for me, it was like Starship Troopers meets a bit of Battlestar Galactica with a hint of Avatar in there as well. What were your inspirations?
I think for me, obvious people go to Independence Day because it's an invasion movie. So I sort of was like, Independence Day with an Australian Star Wars, but on Earth, like, you know what I mean? Like, I guess the tone is kind of what I was thinking, but some cinemas over here have made the connection between Starship Troopers and Mad Max. So I guess that's an interesting, you know, bit of together.
Zac and Jet, how do you tell people about this movie? What's your elevator pitch?
I think Luke just nailed it. Yeah, I think Star Wars Mad Max is a really good analogy. it takes Australia's weird wildlife to weirder levels. Never mind the platypus. There's all kinds of weird things in this that will spin your head. But it's got that sort of funky, kit bashed, raw frontier feeling Mad Max does too.
Oh, people are weighing in here as well. Like Independence Day meets Battle Los Angeles, except in Australia. I missed the trailer, but this is so exciting. Give me Australian sci-fi. People are loving this one. I know we've got Daniel fans, and he's going to be arriving in about 15 minutes, which is really cool for a Q&A portion as well. And people are already asking their questions, and we will be showcasing them live as we go along. Now, Zac, you were in the first movie. What was it like, A, reprising your role, and B, getting back on set for this movie? What were like the biggest differences between the first time and this time?
The scale, for a start, Maud, is incomparable to the first one, because the first one was a genuine sort of microcosm of the overall narrative. It takes place in a small country town, which aliens invade there too. Of course they do. It's not endemic to Washington and New York. Murwillumbah is allowed to cop it every now and then. So that experience was very, merry band of warriors taking on, far superior forces. This one, however, is colossal. You get a scope of the overall picture of this whole thing. And I think what Luke established really well in this film too, and I'm sure Jet will expand on this as well, is that there's this sense of inevitability now. There's no going back. There's no going back whatsoever. We are in this experience and we don't really know what the world is going to be like on the other side of it. So that was one thing. And then, of course, reprising the role of Dennis, a lot of the work was already done in the first one, establishing the character, establishing his motivations and his morals and his ethics, and of course, who he is. And Luke has a great grasp of that, and he knew where he wanted Dennis to be, and it was just like slipping on a nice, comfy pair of thongs, which go on your feet in Australia. So we clarify that straight away. It was like slipping straight back into that, and then of course having an incredible cast around us, such as the lovely Jet Tranter here today, makes it even easier.
Jet, what was that like? Because you are technically the character, right? It was the first movie occupation played by a different actor, and you've actually stepped into that. What was that like, taking on the identity of an established character but making it your own?
Oh my gosh, I only got half of that, sorry, because you're glitching for some reason. But I'm guessing you're asking me about my character.
Yeah, stepping into play Amelia after it's all talking about. See, that's always fun. Playing Amelia for the sequel and stepping into someone else's shoes doing so.
I'm so sorry, I only got half of that as well. But look, I'm just going to tell you what it was like working with Luke Sparke as an actor. And for me, it was like being a pawn in a chess game where Luke is the player controlling the moves. He pushes you in the right directions. He helps you cross those boundaries along the way. And eventually you get to the other end together where you can transform into this major piece of the puzzle. So it was a real privilege to work on this film, and it's not just, about the cast and the actors, what people usually see. It's about the whole team working together as an orchestra to make it all come together. And I don't think the crew and the production team get enough credit for what they've done.
Yeah, I think the question also from Maud, because it was glitching for me too, but it was, how was it like stepping into Amelia's shoes after the first movie had a different Amelia?
I can hear you, Luke.
Yeah.
For some reason I couldn't hear you, Maud. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think we're back with Maud now. We're back.
So I just did the actor thing, studied my character. In the first occupation, Amelia she was a hardworking law student who finds herself in a position as one of the leaders in the resistance army to take the fight back to the aliens. But since then, Amelia, she finds common grounds with the aliens, which we call the Greys, and believes the only way to end this war is through making peace. And I just thought she was a great role model where she shows a lot of compassion and empathy for the other side, even after what they did to her country and her world. And but if she just believes that if this war doesn't end, none of us will have a world to live in. So I just took those motivations on board and did my job.
Yeah,
That's actually
because
really-
for me,
Oh, sorry, Luke.
sorry, Maud, for me that was a real sticking point where I find that that's a point of difference in this movie to other alien invasion films. That's kind of where I was editing the first movie, and there were scenes where we sort of slightly reference, a connection between Amelia or people and aliens, and I really wanted to take that and run with it in this one, because even from the trailer, you just kind of get the idea, it's another big alien invasion film that we've seen a million times. But I think Amelia's story arc through this film really helps sell a different version of an alien invasion film that we haven't really seen before, one that I was interested to explore, especially coming off playing games like Mass Effect and all those sort of cool sci-fi films. I really love those characters in those games. And I was like, how come we haven't really seen movies like this where we got Garrus walking around talking to humans and that, and like you just buy it, or even Star Wars, in a galaxy far, far away. They're just there.
Aliens in Star Wars, though. Oh, wait, in the core crew, though. That's what I like about, if we're going into the game part of thing, the Normandy, which is the space vessel on the Mass Effect, you're pretty much the only human on the ship, which I really, really like. And I like that integration of alien species. And what's really good about this movie is that theme, choose a side, because that means it's not only alien invasion, but also alien immigration. And immigration being like a massive topic here is like, racism is becoming like a speciesism, which I thought super, super interesting. And I love those moments where it's like trying to, and Amelia does an amazing job with this, connecting and being compassionate with a different species and trying to use compassion as like a common thread. But then seeing how Zac, your character Dennis, initially kind of adopts all of the lingo and the slander and the disgruntled nature of them versus us. And then seeing your arc as well and realizing, you have to choose a side. Is that something that's really important? Was that a strong theme for you, Luke, but also Jet and Zac, is the notion of sort of like invasion, especially talking within the confines of Australia, something that's really worth revisiting even now?
Luke, I think you should start off with this one, because this is something we actually talked about with the first movie, and we referenced it in the first movie. So did you want to kick off with that?
I think in the first movie there's a reference where it's like Columbus or Captain Cook, they find these countries, they're never the same again. Look, I'm not one for really political motivated, shoving down people's necks of what my beliefs are. I like to just lay little seeds and let people pick up on them and have a discussion. And if people can walk out of the cinema and have a discussion about anything, rather than just turning to each other and saying, what's for dinner? At least I've done my job on the way. So I don't really want to get into what I think it is. I'd rather Jet and Zac think what they are. But, I mean, obviously, if you look enough in there, yes, there's little bits and pieces. Even in this movie, at the beginning, the title for Sydney comes up, Invasion Day plus 845 days of Invasion Day. Obviously, you can draw some comparatives there, but that's not for me to say. That's for other people to pick up on.
Yeah.
Consider it picked up.
Yeah, I think just with the Dennis, I think one big thing about him is humanity and the notion of watching out for humanity and taking care of the community and the civilians and people. But I think as you saw through the film, that notion of humanity is not endemic to humans. So, what is humanity? Is humanity compassion? Is it empathy? Is it love and care for one another? And if that's the case, are we the only species that really does feel empathy, that really does feel compassion? Does it stop, with bipedal creatures with red blood, who breathe oxygen? And I think that was part of Dennis's really intriguing arc for me as a character coming into this. Because, he does. Like, he's lost a lot of mates and it's been very tough for him, and that, Sydney's been wiped out and life has completely shifted. So there's some animosity, there's some anger, there's some distrust. But as it progresses, and this is where it's crucial for Amelia, and her influence on Dennis, he begins to understand that humans are sometimes not always the most humane.
Jet, we are talking about sort of choosing your side, and I do love the fact that it's in a big way you represent one of the sides, like you're the face of one of the sides, and then Daniel Gillies is kind of the face of the other side as well, and you have a confrontation in this movie that's like, oof, a lot. But where do you think this is an important message? Are you kind of championing a side?
Yes, definitely. And Daniel Gillies was so incredible to work with. He was, for me, as an actor kind of emerging and starting out, I felt quite intimidated by him and his level of commitment to his character. So I just had to stay in character the whole time when we worked together in scenes, as I just could not socialize with him on my normal level in case I broke character. But yeah, I think it's a really important message, you know, to help audiences kind of choose a side and have that fun as well.
I love it.
Sorry to interrupt again. It's been interesting feedback from people who've seen it so far. I've had some people walk out and go, no, I agree with Daniel Gillies' character. We should just kill them all. And I've had, and I'm like, really? Like, really? Okay, fine. Yeah. But then again, like on Earth here, we have two different sides of politics. So like, I guess that's to be expected. Like, you know, we're going to have people that just go, no, we should just kill them. And that's why I pushed with that whole message in this film, because I really think it's a point of difference that we haven't seen in films too much. So it's been interesting.
I know, especially when you look at the Independence Day sorts of things, it's just like nukes, blow them up, blow everything up. But there are lots. Oh, yes,
all like War of the Worlds, you know, with the flu. So yeah, it's sort of like it's kind of like there's always sort of a sense of they come, we defeat them, or we defeat them and then adapt. Versus you know that they arrive and okay, this is going to be kind of tight. What are we going to do about this? A la Falling Skies and things like that. So it is really interesting. Actually, I just saw a question. Someone just asked the question: what Australian landmarks besides Nathan's? It says what Aussie landmarks besides the Sydney Opera House? What Aussie landmark did you want to see blown up by aliens?
Well, none of them.
It's hard when you're Australian. It's like you don't want to say maybe Canberra. Get rid of all that whole thing.
Get rid of all the politicians.
Yeah.
Anyone notice?
Centrepoint Tower.
It's Australia's capital anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I thought maybe Centrepoint Tower in Sydney, because I remember the Power Rangers movie in '95, the original Power Rangers movie. That was the centre of that's where Ivan Ooze, you know, sent all the bad stuff out. A lot of bad memories connected to that. So
before everyone else did all their blue sky beams in the sky, we had Ivan Ooze do his in Sydney.
The big pineapple, that's a good one.
Coffs Love that. It's real talk though. We're all Aussies here. First question: where is everyone calling in from? We'll start with you, Jet. Where in the world are you?
I'm in my bedroom and I'm hiding the mess with this backdrop here, and I'm wearing my pajamas actually. Good.
It is in the morning there. I'm calling in from LA, so it's a very different sort of vibe here. I've already had a full day. Luke, Zach, you're in Byron. I know that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in Byron Bay with half of Los Angeles. It feels like everybody else is here as well. So I know more, and I feel really bad. I've sort of got this sort of it's pretty. That's why I have the blinds closed, because the beach is just.
Oh, is it? That must be lovely, Zach. It must be so nice. I'm glad.
It's really tough and arduous. It's 28 degrees Celsius and hot and humid, and the coffee was too hot this morning.
No such thing. No, it was perfect. It was a flat white, wasn't it? I missed it. Luke, where in the world are you?
I'm on the Gold Coast, so just up from Byron.
Yep.
And we have no restrictions, and it's great.
Yeah, it's surreal.
My parents are in Brisbane, so yeah, every day they're like, how many new cases in LA? And I'm like, 32,000. What about you? They're like, none. But now that I've definitely established we're all big time Aussies here, how do you really think Australia would fare in an alien invasion?
I think we kick their asses, don't you? No, we just make friends with them all.
I think the Aussie spirit with the Anzacs and that, obviously, I'm a big history buff, and my family's got a long lingerage in the Anzac tradition, and I feel like that would come through. I feel like Australia is a very large country, and it'd be very hard to take over in an invasion. And I feel like that's why I did Occupation 1, like groups of people in the bush and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like it's not too far off what might happen. I know everyone always online. I love reading all the comments. You know, people go, if an alien invasion rocked up, we'd be dead so quickly. I'm like, interesting. How would you know? Have we survived through one yet? Like, But
Yeah.
who knows?
I always
think they don't have to spread out too much to be successful in invading our country, because Australia, like you said, Luke, is such a huge space. So by spreading out, they would weaken their forces.
Yeah, I really had to get into that in my head to do this film, where I mentioned in the world building aspect of it, I sort of dropped these little hints of like stay out of the occupied zones and stay out of, do this, and they're up here, and I sort of had to have a map of Australia, like where they are and how they're spreading and where they're going to go through to get to their mission and all that kind of stuff. So that was interesting. I'm actually going to upload it on our website and have an interactive map of like where they're at and who's doing what and what's been destroyed.
Where was some of the, that's really cool. Where were some of the locations that you ended up filming? I know Blue Mountain's got a beautiful kind of scoped shot. Did you film there?
Well, we filmed a drone shot there.
Good.
And then the rest of it we filmed here on the Gold Coast. Basically, the whole film was filmed on the Gold Coast. Standing in for Sydney, Blue Mountains, Outback, Snowy Mountains, all here on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, right. So,
Yeah.
Real talk though, if you gave them Brisbane, I wouldn't have cared. Like, let the aliens have Brisbane.
As long as they say South Bank. If South Bank is okay, then yeah, they.
I'm from Brisbane. I'm never going back there, guys. Give it to the aliens. We've got a.
The Caxton is one of the most volatile and parochial places in the world.
I worked there for one night. One night.
I would love to see an alien try and take down the Caxton. And this is such specific conversation for the American audience here.
Yeah.
The Caxton is an iconic pub. Actually, even for Victorians, maybe, it's sort of like, it seems a little esoteric, but it is such an iconic pub and particularly divisive when it comes to the Rugby League State of Origin series. Yeah, so if aliens are going to invade Australia, I would advise them to steer clear of the Caxton.
That's where it'll all go down. That's the headquarters for sure. There's another this one, Garred, happening here. Do you know this Garred, Zach?
I happen to know this Alex. He happens to be my brother. Yeah, he's having his first baby too. So congratulations. Him and his wife are expecting their first one in July. So congratulations to my brother. I get to see him next week. So.
Oh, that's so great. Well, he's obviously a bit of a geek as well. So I guess he's the massive geek. That's where you get it from. Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite piece of sci-fi media, be it games, movies, TV, or comics? Go. Who's got one?
Luke.
Well, I'm going to say Star Wars. That's the easy one. But if you took that off the plate, I'm going to say Mass Effect.
Oh wow. I can actually see which cabinets are dedicated to Star Wars behind you as well.
Yeah, I'm checking out all those little.
Most of them.
Trooper. Yeah.
Most of the cabinets here are Star Wars, and up top is Marvel.
I see that, but I raise you a lightsaber.
Oh, that's one of the good ones too, Maud. Yeah.
Are we having like a nerd off? That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I could just go to my cabinet and like get more.
I have.
Pull over a whole bunch.
You just happen to have
I can reload it.
Whoa.
This is what I practice with for occupation.
Yeah.
Really?
And we didn't end up using guns. We ended up using laser guns, and it was totally different.
Oh, but that's a skill set that you learned from it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. What else did you do, Jet, to learn for the character? Did you do anything else to get in the mood?
Oh, you know what I did.
I love this stuff. This is great.
I'm a bit of a method actor, so I did some weird stuff. Like, based on the first occupation, I went into the woods where I believed they were hiding out because the aliens couldn't see them if they were surrounded by trees. So I'd go out at 4:00 in the morning to the Dandenong Ranges and just have a little trek in the woods with my little survival kit and just imagine what it'd be like in a post-apocalyptic world where there's basically nothing left and I had to find things to help me survive. So I did that sort of stuff. I did some military training with one of my good friends on the Gold Coast. And, lots of F-45 and commando style training, 8 game meat and rations and that sort of stuff to get a sense of the character. Didn't do my nails for 3 months when I was prepping for the role because I wanted to really feel nice and rugged and ready.
You ate rabbit, didn't you?
Yeah.
You ate rabbit, yeah.
And kangaroo.
And kangaroo, that's right.
But I'm vegetarian.
How was that?
It's just all for the part.
Yeah, wow. Well done. Zach, what did you do?
Let me tell you a story about Zach.
I feel so lazy by comparison. I did, because for the first one, Dennis is an artist, so I had a crack at drawing some things. So I had a crack at drawing some sketches and things to try to get into the feeling for that, which was really, really interesting. And I actually, you know, Maud and I, we live in Los Angeles, not far from each other, and Dennis is a homeless bloke in it. So I got talking to a lot of homeless guys in Los Angeles, and there was one young guy in particular who I became mates with on the bus stop at our corner. And he was very much like Dennis. He was this lovely, sort of charming, sweet, funny, cheeky guy. And I'd spent a lot of time just chatting to him about what it's like to live on the street and live their life. And what you notice is that they're not after sympathy. They're not after anything like that. They're just, you know, getting by, living as they do. And so that was sort of where I went for that. And I did a lot of reading as well about a guy called Pemulwuy, who, pardon me, was like the Eora Nation's Braveheart in Sydney during when the First Fleet arrived, and read his story about coping with the First Fleet arriving as the First Nation people. And that was really interesting, just to kind of get a scope from a first person point of view of what it's like to go through something like this.
Yeah, of the original landowners of Australia, which is like super incredible. I would love to learn more about that. I remember it was mandatory in primary school to learn about Dreamtime. God, it's fascinating. I love it all.
Yeah. No, it is. And I think Mark Cole-Smith, who of course plays Captain Wessex in this movie, who is from the Kimberley, he's Nation and he's mob are from the Kimberley. And he had some amazing stories. We're just having downtime in between, like Jet and Mark hung out a lot. And we had some downtime in between, and he would tell us some incredible stuff from his ancestors and some really stirring sort of rhetoric. He's a lovely bloke. He's actually out there. I think he's out there currently. He's out there. He goes bush a fair bit to go see his mob out there. But yeah, his stories from his ancestors are quite captivating.
That was so beautiful. So I'm going to humiliate you now.
Do it. So to build upon what my brother is telling me here, so I have at my house in Los Angeles, and my girlfriend Alison, who you know, Maud, I have been smuggling over my Transformers piece by piece since I moved to LA. The very first time, I have about 75 Transformers going back to 1988, I think. And I'm sort of like, I'm an obsessive with them. I love Transformers. So I guess if there's a sci-fi genre that I'm particularly into, it is definitely that. But video game wise, Mass Effect 100%. Perfect Dark on Nintendo 64 was like one of those really good,
Alien.
Good early sort of sci-fi things. And my mate Bunny, who I grew up right across the road from, he was really into anime. So I started watching Aeon Flux and those kinds of things back in the day as well. That really got me into really cool sci-fi genre, and of course Blade Runner as well. But yeah, my collection of Transformers is immense. And my brother, when I go see him next week in Newcastle, he has all of our original Star Wars toys on his shelf. So he's got like the B-Wing, Slave One, the Millennium Falcon, our old X-Wings. Yeah, it's so cool. So I go back there and just have a little bit of, a bit of a play.
I want to touch on the Slave One and who owns it in a second. But Jet, do you have a sci-fi genre that you love the most?
I think my favorite one would be Avatar. I really love Avatar. Star Wars. Watched a bit of Star Trek as well.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many sci-fi movies that I haven't seen.
Love it. Now you're in one.
Martial arts films as well. So just a big film buff in general.
Love hearing that. So I was talking about the Slave One. The owner of the Slave One is a dude called Boba Fett. Well, actually, it's Jango Fett, but let's not get into particulars here. Yeah. But what's really, really cool is that you have worked. He reprised his role in this one as well. Temuera Morrison, who is also now, the timing of this is really, really fantastic, because he's not only in the first occupation, he's coming back for this one. And his new season of Boba Fett, Book of Boba, is actually Boba in America, is going to be coming out in about a year as well. Is this just sort of lovely to see him flourish and reprise a role that sort of put him on the map 18 years ago, even though they've been working a lot longer before that? But is this sort of really cool?
Yeah, obviously it's really good timing for us. I got told about it in the lead up, so I knew it was coming on The Mandalorian, which I was like really surprised and really happy for him. And him and I have exchanged a few emails about it. So yeah, it was great timing. And just for a Star Wars fan, like that episode of The Mandalorian when Slave One appeared, I was just like heart palpitations, and it's just, like I just had a big smile on my face the whole time, not just because it's Baba or Boba, but just having Tem on screen. I'm like, there's Tem, and he's in my movie, and here he is as Boba Fett. This is just mental. Like, I've got like he gifted me on Occupation 1 on the last day a Mandalorian jacket, a puffer jacket with the Mandalorian logo that he got from Celebration, and on the back it's signed by him, Daniel Logan, and Jeremy Bulloch.
Wow!
So I've got that in my collection. He also gifted me a really nice picture. I should have pulled it out, where it's a picture of him as Django and it's signed, and it's like, to Luke, give this man a Star Wars movie. To me, Morrison.
Is that a goal?
It is a goal, yes, obviously. And now with so many shows coming out, like I'm gonna tweet that post that picture and tag Lucasfilm and Dave Filoni and be like, yes, please.
Dave Filoni's been doing an amazing job lately. But this is going to be a segue and a half, because Taika Waititi was a director and also in the Mandalorian season, but he directed one of the episodes. Jet, you've worked with Taika Waititi on Thor Ragnarok, and I kind of want to talk about what it's like working with an all Aussie cast in Australia and then working with like a Kiwi director as well in Australia. Like, does this have just such a different sort of tone on set?
Yeah, it was a lot more laid back, and he's just a funny guy. He's just a funny guy. My favorite memory of working on Thor was working with Kate Blanchett. She was fantastic, and she just came in and started telling Taika what to do.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Hella yeah is all I'll say to that. But yeah, no, I loved Ragnarok as well. What a fun time. I'm going back.
Add about Tem as well. When we were talking about when everything was coming up, but Tem come to Australia to shoot some of his stuff. And like Taika, the sort of very chilled Maori energy. Very very chill guys. And Tem, like his last day we were working with him, I said, "So we off to now?" And he was super chill. He said, "Oh, I've got to go do some more Star Wars stuff." That was it. Star Wars. Yeah, cool. And inside me, my heart's going, it's going to be a Mandalorian. It's going to be more fun. And then, of course, the more you and I saw each other in LA after those episodes went to air, and besides, my absolute giddy childlike instincts just sort of exploded in the when he first appeared in the show. It was just astounding, that sort of epilogue. Sorry, that epilogue at the end of episode 6, chapter 16 of The Mandalorian, which just sort of went. I remember Luke and I were talking about it as well. We're like, "Oh my god, this is so good!"
And Luke, we got a seismic charge from the Slave One as well. I don't know if you were just like, "This is one of my favorite sounds in sci-fi." It was so good. I'm loving Sarah's question here. We've got an occupation. We have an occupation, Rainfall, and I noticed it said chapter 1 in there. Sarah asks, we're getting an occupation 3 maybe?
Without spoiling anything, yes, at the end, as you pointed out, there is a chapter 1. So I guess
I spoiled it, didn't
I? I wrote this massive, like, to me, Occupation 1 is like a nice backstory now. Like, it was I did it by the seat of my pants. It was very low budget. It was supposed to just be like a really $1 million movie filmed in the bush, and suddenly I had Sammy Wera come on board and Jack McKenzie and all these sort of great actors, and I had to sort of run and catch up and make it as big as I could with what I had. Where this one, I sort of pushed that to the side and said, nice backstory, but here's where my real story begins. And I wrote this massive sort of story that I've had to now cut into 2. So I guess the answer is yes, if the audience shows up to this one. So everyone's eyes are on the opening weekend next week to see how it goes.
Alrighty, so Australians, They're in cinemas. Go, bring your friends, your family, have an amazing time. It is a really, really fun movie. I don't want to spoil too much, but I do want to highlight that you got some amazing cast in this movie, and they provided some incredible comedy moments in like a really like big action heavy movie, which I thought was so fun. Getting Ken Jeong in there as well, like guaranteed fun time. He's very, very hilarious. I'm a big Community fan as well, so I loved seeing him in there. But also teams up with a character that is voiced by Jason Isaacs of Harry Potter fame, and I couldn't tell it was him. His voice changed so much in that. But what was it like working with those two? Did Ken get to come to the Gold Coast?
Yeah, we filmed him here for like a week. So it was like pretty hectic schedule to have him out here for that short amount of time. But we got it all done, and he even added more than what I had scripted. So I was able to really pump up his character towards the end there and have these ad libs here and there when I was editing. So he was hilarious. And then having Jason come on board, and you're right, his voice, when I said to him, well, what are you thinking with the character? He's like, yeah, like a California surfer dude. And I was like, that is not you. Like, it's weird to see his face, but to have that voice come out. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, sure, let's do this. So, it was very, very interesting, and it was hilarious. Like, it was all during COVID lockdown. So he was in London doing his ADR. And I had little screens like this, and I'm watching him, and I'm like in stitches, and the guys in London are in stitches, and he's just there just for hours on end, just giving me just stuff. It was great.
They were some of my favorite parts in the movie, the Ken Jeong and Steve the alien. When I first read the script, I was kind of like, oh, this is going to be really tough to pull off. It's going to require someone really, really talented to pull up that kind of sense of humor. Because when you read it and then imagine it, it's like, oh, how are they going to do this? But look, you did such a fantastic job with editing and directing for those scenes. They were some of my favorites.
Yeah, great. For me, it was kind of like the Yellow Brick Road story, and then they get to the end, and the wizard's like, instead of this big head, it's like these two idiots behind the fridge. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the whole story is like rainfall, and you get there, and you're like, what?
Yeah, these are the people.
It's really funny. There were the light moments, but there were also some really heavy moments provided by the one Daniel Gillies, who's just popped on in. So I'll add him to the stream right now. Hello, Daniel. We called you in here.
You're getting set up, guys. I'm sorry about that. How you doing?
All right. Hello and welcome. We've got a live chat happening here where people are dropping by, just commenting. We've just been talking about the highs, the fun parts of the movie, all the locations in Australia. But one of the questions that I have for you, Daniel, is that you are such a chameleon in terms of accents. So you're technically Canadian, but you're a Kiwi. And then living in America for a little while, you've done a British accent with a character for the last 8 years. But now you're an Aussie for Wing Commander Haynes. How was it becoming an Aussie after all of that?
Yeah, it was a little tricky. We had Luke and all of us had sort of done a little bit of preparation like the year before. So I had some time to think about it. And I ended up hanging out with a couple of Aussie mates here who basically told me that my accent was rubbish for to do anything. And then and luckily, and I spent, I don't know, it was more difficult than I thought, actually. You know what? I did a movie in the same year, in 2019. I did a movie for New Zealand. I actually had a tougher time doing a Kiwi accent than I did doing an Aussie one, like a true Kiwi accent than I did my Aussie one. I don't know why. It's probably because I've lived in the States so long. It's been bastardized.
I like
hi everyone. Sorry. So, thank you. Hi. Nice to see you all.
You've got an accent.
How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you? Are you in LA, Zach? Or are you?
Mate, I'm in Byron Bay. You remember Byron, just south of the Gold Coast?
I do. I'm jealous of you. That is a good place to be. Yeah. Hi, Jet. Hi, Luke. Sorry.
Hey, Daniel.
Your middle name, Beyonce.
Oh, yes. Sorry. That's I can adjust that.
No, own it.
I think it's lovely.
There we go. It's my birth name, so.
The U in Germany has asked a question. Describe Occupation Rainfall in 3 words.
Oh my goodness. Oh God.
Oh my God.
harrowing. Jesus.
I didn't know if you'd frozen.
No.
I was like, is it frozen?
Hey, have you guys done it in 3? I don't know. Help me out, guys. I'm trying to think.
Exhilarating.
Exhilarating is a good one. And
ambitious.
Yeah, ambitious is incredible. Those are 3 good ones. Thank you. I don't want to consume more time.
Man, we've only got you for a little bit, so feel free to chat.
This is another question. I think we've got the Germany Army happening here. If you could steal credit for any great piece of art, song, film, or book, which one would you claim?
If I could steal credit for it, definitely directing. I'd steal Luke's thunder for this movie. Occupation Rainfall.
Anyone else?
I'd still Let It Be. Imagine being able to say that. Imagine ripping that out and going, "Yeah, I did this."
You just want the royalties and the dough, mate.
Oh, dude, I'd be living in Byron Bay, not sleeping on my parents' couch.
Jet, you got one?
I made Star Wars. I invented all the languages, the backdrops, the scene, did all the special effects.
Right. Question for Daniel here. We kind of touched on the Australian accent, saying that it was a bit tricky to get back into. I actually think you did a really great Australian accent. And I actually thought that Zac's seemed more unrealistic, but in actual fact, that's just how Zac talks.
I've had the same comments. People are like, "Oh, that guy that plays Dennis, he's the most fake Australian accent ever." I'm like, "You don't know Zac. Like, that's just him."
Have people said that's a fake Australian accent from Zac?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I think I'm bunging it on.
Oh, really? It's so funny. It's funny how that happens, hey?
Yeah.
That was a good question. That was a good question underneath. How were the
Hey,
scenes
what was
of
the last
filming?
question? I didn't.
Yeah, how are the scenes of flying filmed? Daniel.
Yeah.
Oh, I should say rapidly and bombastically. But they were fun. We were just God, we did it right at the end of the shoot, didn't we, Luke? I think I can't remember if we were even green screen, but essentially we were just sort of sat in a little box. And I mean, I can't believe the scale of this movie. That's the thing that's kind of like, yeah. For anybody who watches the film, you have to understand, like, it's thrilling for us too to see this, because like, so much of what you see is stuff that we never saw either, And having now looked at the film, it's just like I just can't believe what a Herculean effort it was for you, Luke. I just can't. I mean, I know that you're a guy that can turn sort of like $1 into $100,000, but that's just it's freakish. I don't know why you would like. You've got balls, man. Jesus. Anyway, but these shooting these things. So back, I jumped off topic there. The shooting these things was just like essentially sitting in a little box, and Luke's yelling at you, lovingly, so affectionately yelling at you, like because you have a whole lot of gear on, so he kind of had to yell at you in order to get sound through the helmet that you were looking at. It's kind of a little unspectacular, but the effect that it has in the film is anything but unspectacular.
Yeah, I can remember the day pretty well, because I was like, "Oh my God, how's Daniel going to take this?" And I'm like, "Here's your little box." And we wheeled out this little box.
No.
And this little headset there, and we gave you like a nightstand to hold as like a joystick.
That's right.
Like, here's your little nightstand, and you just looked at me and you're like, "Is this it? I'm like, "It's okay. It's going to be great. Trust me." And you're like, "Okay, I trust you."
Well, yeah, I've never done any scenes like that before. It looked great. I thought those scenes looked amazing.
They did. The whole thing was like spectacular. But I was thinking that with so much special effects and like, even at one stage, the aliens had like CGI going on there as well. I just thought it was like a lot of the times at the moment, like talking to the cast of Game of Thrones, they're going, "I'm interacting with the dragon and it's a tennis ball on a stick." And you're like, actors really have to go through the punches when working with CGI. You really have to step up and do it. A question that I wanted to ask as well is, the swearing that happens. And I love that it's like not obvious, but it's just so Australian. Luke, was that something that you wanted to like ensure that it had a very Aussie flavor and just fucking swearing your face off the whole time?
Luke told me off several times, so he's just like, can you just calm down on the swearing?
Well, it's hard because Daniel and I talked and we decided that Hayes would definitely be a swearer, which makes sense for the character. But once he starts swearing around the table scene, everyone else is like coming back, being Aussie, being like, well, fuck you. You know, and it's like, okay, not everyone can swear as we're going to get an MA rating. I'm trying to keep it M, which we got over here. Thankfully.
Yeah.
Just the other day, it's an M rating. So, you know, I think we're relaxing a little bit more over here with our swearing. They're kind of like, yeah, Wonder Woman's M and we're M, and we have swearing. So I'm like, okay, sure.
You know, the first half an hour, though, Luke, I'm impressed. Like, for about the first, I want to say 30-odd minutes, I don't think anyone swears, right? Am I wrong about that? Or because it just doesn't feel like anybody's swearing until
it ramps up.
Yeah, they're very soft. Yeah, it's very soft swear words. It's you know, sort of just like it's the odd bloody ass, you know, bastard, that kind of stuff.
The second half of the film definitely, as it ramps, like it starts, the swearing starts to intensify, and you almost don't notice it because the movie itself is has got more momentum at that point too.
It's just, it's definitely motivated. It's definitely motivated swearing, you know, but it's good swearing too, because bad swearing, and this is very important, like bad swearing does not land well. There are people who swear well, there are people who don't swear, who swear fantastically. But I think the swearing in this was very melodic. It was very musical.
It's more emotional swearing.
Yeah, emotional swearing, Jed, exactly.
So I kind of wanted to chat, like, just to add to the stakes, because this movie's got rewatchability because there's so much happening. But one of the times people watch this movie, there needs to be a drinking game involved. And I want to ask you guys what you think the rules to the drinking game should be. So every time someone swears, every time
every time Daniel swears, for sure. Every time Daniel swears, I would definitely take a shot. I think I've already done that drinking game, to be honest, when I was editing.
Well, you were lit up. I'm trying to think.
One of my favorite lines of the whole film is towards the end.
Drinking game. Jeez.
I think Gray.
Every time I see Gary. Gray. Yeah.
Every time Zac is laughing.
Oh,
He's a very happy character. This is actually a good question from Bonzi, which I would love to know about as well. Daniel, the movie, it looks like you're playing the villain. Do you like playing this kind of character?
Yeah, I mean, I'm typically playing that kind of character. Yes, is a simple answer to that, and also too, I just wanted to be a part of what Luke was making. I saw what he did with the first one, and I just thought that he'd done such a beautiful job with very little. And I also made him swear that he was going to make me part of whatever was next. I said, "Look, I know I'm dying, and joke's on me because I died in this, and it looks like this is just all part of a franchise that he's creating. So I'm dead now. So I lost that." But
have you not heard of the nerd?
Whatever Luke was doing.
Not necessarily, Daniel. Not necessarily.
Don't make me a weird CG Hayes ghost. That'll be done. I won't do it.
Have you heard about the nerd effect? Like in comic books and sci-fi, the nerd effect really stands for NERD. No one ever really dies. So
yeah, that's true.
There's a way to bring anyone and everyone back.
I do a soap opera in America. It happens. It happens. You walk down you fall down the steps, you break your neck. Next week, dramas at all.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I died on that silly show I did for many years, many times. So yeah, I'm all too familiar with that.
Got the dying down.
With the dying.
Sarah here. If humanity really was at stake and you could only save 3 things, what would they be?
Mum, dad, brother.
I pray that you only have one sibling.
That makes me feel bad.
Like, what?
Yeah. I did. But then I did mention our dog, and that makes me feel terrible now. Oh dear.
All right. Is that awful?
You're a terrible person.
Yeah.
Daniel, what would you say?
Probably Zac's sense of generosity. would be the first thing I should say. But I don't know. Like, wait. So is this question like? Is it 3 people? Or does it have like? It's.
Let's say the obvious is your family. What other 3 things would you do?
Things. Yeah.
Three things could you save? Chip, what do you got? What do you think? 3 things.
I'm going to group one thing as family.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
the second thing as pets, animals. Third thing, I guess my iPhone.
Yeah. Imagine you're the only one on the planet with a phone. What a dick.
Yeah.
Down, refresh.
The reception here is shit.
Nobody else is picking up, and I'm fucking good. Because you're bullshit, Chet.
I would definitely save a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Nice.
I was going to say, all your children are in a cabinet behind you. Which one would you save?
Oh my god. Maybe I'd have to say Baby Yoda.
Oh.
Baby.
Have you got Baby Yoda?
Grogu.
Yeah.
Grogu.
Yeah, it's like a little life-size version.
When did you get Grogu?
Sure.
Yeah, give us a squiz.
Oh, it's life
Oh,
size.
fair dinkum. That's legit.
I must save my baby, sir.
Yeah. Well, women and children first includes Grogu, right?
Yeah. He's got like little hair and that's crazy.
No way.
Oh, Luke, if you don't direct a Star Wars episode of something, I'll be heartbroken for you.
That's what I was thinking watching the movie, actually. I was thinking, God, somebody give this guy a Mandalorian episode. This is, you know.
I was just saying before, Daniel, that I've got a nice signed photo from Temuera, and it says, give this man a Star Wars movie. And it's a photo of him as Boba Fett.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Well, they've released like the next 7 years.
Isn't he the lead of the next Mandalorian series? Jesus.
Yeah, he's Boba Fett, yeah.
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 Boba Fett. To wrap things up, because we are going to close out and play the trailer one more time for everyone that may have missed it. But earlier I was talking about sort of the difference in tone of sets. And I think Australia is so notorious for being chilled and relaxed. But Daniel, you've got a lot of experience being on set in America. I want to hear from you about the biggest differences between what it's like working with sort of like American directors and what it's like sort of the Hollywood side of it, as opposed to sort of like the more down-to-earth and Australian set. I basically want you to tell everyone that Americans have egos and can be difficult to work with, and Australians are awesome.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But what I will say, because, well, look, I worked back to back in a Kiwi film and an Aussie film in that year, and it was a different experience. I don't know if it's just because I grew up in New Zealand, but first of all, you laugh a lot more. It's much funnier being an Australian Kiwi. I don't know, because I think that you typically are trying to make a dollar go a lot further. There is a lot to be said for the American system, though, because New Zealanders and Australians do use American systems, and those were sort of, engendered in the late sort of 1990s, early aughts. Actually, I would say even further back, probably the mid 90s. We adopted all of these American systems, and the systems that are good and do work. And there's a reason why they're kind of sort of dominant, but. The experience on these sets is just you're in the trenches together, and I do think it reflects on the screen. Like it's not a matter of sort of individuals that are vanishing to their trailers or their departments and sort of going and hanging out and coming back. I feel like that energy becomes sort of a little threadbare after a while, and it makes a filmmaker have to sort of create it in the editing room. Not that Luke didn't have a tremendous amount to do in the editing room, but I think when you're all in it and you're all together in the way that you are, and there's a lack of hierarchy, there's no hierarchy. Everybody's the same, everybody's sort of respected, which also has its pros and cons, but in a way it's much better. Certainly from an acting perspective, it's really good that that energy does feel more like a family. You're in it together. It's difficult together, and that adversity only kind of enhances the film. And nobody knows adversity better than Luke Sparke. I mean, you need a lot more money next time. I mean, I'm terrified to think of what you would do, Luke, with $30 million, which comparatively is not a lot. But this guy you know, in case the audience hasn't figured it out yet, is, you know, like I've always said he's better, but he's like a Roland Emmerich, you know, and he can do much more. You know, I think it's I'm just excited to see what he does next, because it's a real privilege to be involved in something like this.
And also, just to blow smoke with this script as well, you have concurrent storylines breaking off that are all so essential and interesting and heartfelt, and there's a lot of growth happening at once, as well as so much action, explosions, like the choreography involved with that, but the soul of it as well. That's my sell for this movie. I really, really loved it. But what is your sell as we wrap things up and throw to the trailer one last time? Why should people come see this movie? Jet, we'll start with you.
To eat some popcorn and enjoy great entertainment.
Luke, because it's your baby.
Look, just to have a fun thrill ride is what I'm hoping for, and maybe walk away with a bit of sense of, you know, like you said, alien speciesism, and are we all connected, and you know, what is really humanity all about?
Love it. Zach?
Come for the spectacle and take away some very interesting emotional dialogue afterwards. It has everything you need in a great movie.
Love it. And Daniel?
Yeah, COVID's a kick in the pants. This sucks, and one of the casualties of being, you know, enshrined in the way that we are right now is that we're not going to the movies. Well, many people in the world aren't going to the movies. We're not having these experiences. And what Luke's successfully done is he's brought this beautiful excitement back to the experience of going to the movies. And granted, it's not the ideal way to see this movie. You want to see it on the biggest screen imaginable, but it is a night at the movies for folks who can't go to the movies. And it, as to echo Zach, it's a spectacle, and it's just dazzling what Luke has achieved.
If you love sci-fi, you're going to love this film. If you're in Australia, it does open in over 200 cinemas all around Australia, but it's going to be available, I believe, on DVD around March as well. So keep your eyes locked on Occupation Rainfall. And if that didn't convince you, then here's the trailer one last time. Thank you so much, Daniel, Zach, Jet, and Luke for joining me here on Geek. And
good to see you,
enjoy.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
What I'm about to show you has only been known to a handful of people. Even less have ever seen this. This is Project Rainfall.
The Sydney's lost, we're surrounded, and we're suffering unsustainable casualties.
There's something else. Over the past few weeks, I've encountered sources that all speak of some event. Rainfall.
Find out what this rainfall thing is. Fall back to me.
I will go too. I've seen you fight. You're keeping something from me.
I am a soldier, Matthew. Just like you.
What are they doing?
Preparing for war, eh? It's their technology integrated with ours. It's a beautiful thing.
I've hidden from this war long enough. I'm going to make sure you complete your mission.
You are surrounded. You cannot win.
Oh, that's not good.
Here we go! As a species, I'm with you. It's not all the times that we fall, but that we rise again. Every single time.
Incoming fighters.
What else you got?
Call him as you see him.